Mhm. Hello, Wilson.
Hello, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Welcome to
What
class.
double class tonight?
Yeah, triple actually. I had a lesson before, and now
Hmm.
a class, and then our lesson after.
Yes, okay.
So very nice. Glad you're here. Edson, hello.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm fine. And you?
I'm fine, thank you. Welcome to class. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Great. And Anna Carolina, hello.
Hello, Stephanie.
Hi.
Did you say that you have three lessons in a row? I
Yes.
just, I just can see one.
Oh, two of them are tutoring lessons. So
Oh, like
I,
ten, something,
yeah, yep,
something.
yeah, private tutoring.
Okay.
So not classes, I should be clear. But I will be doing some later this week, some
If you had
Thanksgiving ones.
three in a row, I would take all the three.
Good to know. I think Wednesday evening I might be picking some up too. So maybe then. But welcome, I'm glad you're here. And Javier, hello. Javier? Hmm. All right, Javier, maybe you are having some technical difficulties. I'm not sure, but anyhow, let's get started. Um, this class is a new class um, that I I had the idea. Basically, every day I get an email with um, kind of a synopsis of the top news stories of the day. Um, but the email is written in a very conversational style. It uses a lot of slang, a lot of idioms, and a lot of cultural references. And every day I read it and I think of English learners. And if English learners were reading it, um, what might be interesting uses of language, what might be confusing. Um, so I just wanted to try sharing it as a way for you, advanced students, to kind of learn some of those little English things that you can't get through a grammar lesson. Um, so that's the idea. This is a brand new lesson, so your feedback is very helpful, especially regarding the name. I couldn't think of a good name for this class, so I called it Today's News. But if I repeat it in the future, I'd like a better name. But I don't want to use the name of the email because that might not be good. Anyway, that's the idea behind the class. So we're going to start, before we go to the email, we're going to start with a little conversation just to get us warmed up for the news topics. I'm going to give you a key word from the news, and you'll just tell me or tell the group what you know about that subject or topic. So the first word are, ooh, yeah, American stuff, that might be. So the first news story we're going to read about has to do with ISIS. So what do you know about ISIS, or what have you heard lately? What's the latest news?
They are the second um, terrorism group, at least this during this year. They are attacking.
Mm-hmm. Good. So,
The,
so
no, the sec yeah, the second group.
the second group.
Yeah,
Good. Second to do what? Or say a little more?
this the second terrorism group because the first one is from Africa and this is from Syria,
Hmm.
and they killed something like around 6,300, something like this,
Hmm.
people during this year.
Good. Yeah. So like second biggest terrorist group. Um,
Yeah,
Great. Excellent. Let me say hello, Wellington. Hello.
Hello, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you again too. Welcome to class.
Thank you.
What's the first group? Is it if it is the second one, which is the first one?
Good question. And I actually don't know that much, so let's ask that back to Edson.
is a group from, I don't remember exactly the name of the group, but this is a group from Africa. They killed last year something like 6,600 people around the world.
Interesting. Interesting.
And
I
what
heard in the
ISIS?
news last week.
ISIS stand for what? Islamic State and what the other IS?
Oh, good question. What does the other IS mean?
The first, I think, as Islamic State, is that?
I think
Yeah,
so.
Islamic State, and I don't remember the second.
So Islamic State, Boko Haram. Anna
Yeah,
Carolina wrote in the chat. Okay, I have heard of have heard of that. I don't know that much about it, but um, let's see. I don't know. Does anyone know what the second IS is for in ISIS? I am not that good with current events, and that's part of why I get the email that we're going to read today. All
it's
right.
just need. I just know because I'm prepared for some tests and it's required. You be pay attention on the news every day and every time and
Well, good. It's good for us. We can learn from you too then. That's great. Uh,
yeah.
all right. Let's see. And this is news with an American skew. So we have ISIS, but then under that, the American presidential candidates. What does that bring to mind when I say that? American presidential candidates.
Donald
I
Trump?
know.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead, Anna Carolina.
What comes to my mind are you talking about the next president and their campaigns, right?
Yep.
Okay, I think people are really afraid of terrorism, and his speech is very convenient because the fear fuels hate, and he says that he wants to build a wall, you know,
Mhm.
around the United States to prevent immigration, to
Mhm.
prevent the U.S. from immigration. And since people are very afraid, they believe it is right to do, and you know.
Good.
but I don't think so. I totally disagree,
Mhm.
and I hope he won't turn.
Good.
Okay?
Yes, excellent.
He won't win. I'm sorry. He
Uh,
won't.
good. Yeah, so we will be reading a little bit about Trump and his response to ISIS. Um, good. All right. Any other comments on that topic?
Yes, I think the politics and the ISIS are now being linked to accept or not the refugees from Syria.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So they're asking the presidential candidates, and they're asking existing politicians about accepting refugees, and a lot of places are saying no.
Yes.
Good, great. Thanks for adding that, Wilson.
I also noticed that the United States sent fighters to Syria to combat something. They think they I don't know if they destroy some places there. I heard something like just a little very quickly.
Yeah, and I think what we're about to read is related to that. Yeah, good. Okay, so let's close that topic. The next keyword or keywords I'm going to give you, see if you know any news of the day on this. Pfizer and Allergan. I'm typing these in the chat as well, the Burbling chat. I don't know if you've heard of this. Do those words ring a bell for anyone?
I think it's two of the biggest laboratory in the world, and they are going to form a joint venture to be just one, and they will be far the biggest company in this area in the world. Okay, one is for Viagra, the other one is for Botox. The two main products they sell.
Excellent. Well said. Um, Great. So that is one of the news topics we'll be reading about, the merger of those two huge pharmaceutical companies. All right. Any other comments on that? All right. We have two more keywords or buzzwords. My next one for you is Washington Post reporter. Does that mean anything to anyone or ring a bell? Washington Post reporter. This is one I hadn't heard anything about, and I still don't have a great idea what's going on with it. But we'll look into it together. The guy's name was, let me put his name. I don't know how to pronounce his name. That's the problem. I've only seen it in writing. Rezaian, Rezaian. That in the chat. Anyone heard that name?
No.
No. Yes, Wellington's got the name. Wellington, what do you know about this story?
Oh, I don't know anything. When you wrote the Washington Post reporter, I googling.
Okay,
I Google.
good work. One step ahead of us. Good work. Well, we're all going to learn a little bit about this person before we leave today. Okay.
No.
And I have one more keyword for everyone, or buzzword here, and this one is more specific to the United States. Louisiana governor's race. Does that ring a bell, or does anyone know what's going on with that situation?
Tell us about the something related to colleges or universities.
Yeah, it is something. Um, Actually, I'm not sure exactly. It has something to do with the governor and the election. Elections coming up next year, I think. Um, that one I really don't know much about. Oh, right. It is definitely related to the elections, though. All right. Those are kind of the stories. That was just to get our brains ready. The real goal of this lesson is the language. So I'm going to share the email with you. And we'll take it story by story, examining the language. It's really fun language, in my opinion. All right. So this is the email. I get it every work day. It's called The Skim. And it's kind of designed for working women who may not have time to stay up on the news. So that's the idea behind the email. I don't know why, but the email always starts with a one-sentence thing like this, skimmed with Sunday Night Football. Pretty meaningless to me. And they also start with a quote of the day. We'll read. We'll come back to this if we have time. Let's get to the meat of the email. All right, our first story. Here's our headline, Intelligence. The story. The U.S.-led fight against ISIS is not going well, and the Pentagon is expanding its investigation into why. Explain. Earlier this year, U.S. military analysts accused senior military officials of changing their reports to make it seem like the fight against ISIS was going pretty well. Hint, it was not. Cue an investigation from the Pentagon's Inspector General. Then came this month's terror attacks in Paris. ISIS has claimed responsibility. So the Inspector General thought now would be a good time to expand the investigation since the Pentagon could really use a full picture of ISIS. Anything else? Since authorities warned of an imminent terror attack over the weekend, Brussels has been on lockdown. Yesterday, 16 people were arrested during terror raids. Meanwhile, a group with ties to Al-Qaeda claimed responsibility for last Friday's hotel attack in Mali that killed at least 20 people. All right, we're going to kind of pause there. Just looking at this. First, let's see, kind of playing with how to approach this. Can someone, would someone like to give us, just summarize what has been said so far, or?
I think the point is that the Pentagon is underestimating the power of ISIS, and after the attack in Paris and Mali, they are considering to change their behavior against them.
Good. Great. Yeah. So well said. That's the main idea here. All right. So let's look at. It's kind of told in maybe not a typical way a news story is told. So any questions on the language here? Any sentences that don't make sense?
Yes. On lockdown. On lockdown, sorry.
Yeah, great. So if a place is on lockdown, It means it's on the strictest security setting. So if Brussels is on lockdown, you can imagine that there are police everywhere. They've canceled big festivals. Maybe people even have to stay home. They might have a curfew. Good question.
Q, an investigation from Pentagon. Q.
Yeah, good. So this is kind of a sentence inserted in the middle of a story. Q, an investigation from the Pentagon's Inspector General. Q here is what a director would do for an actor. So if you have a story or a movie, first one thing happens, then the next thing, and then the director might cue or signal for the next scene or the next thing to happen. So this is kind of almost a reference to movie making here. Which is, makes sense in the sentence because, or in this paragraph, it's kind of like plot development, right? The plot or the story is unfolding or developing. Good question. Any other questions on these 3 paragraphs?
Raids is the sense of attack or something like that?
Kind of. A terror raid would be a raid looking for terror suspects. So the police would do the raiding, and raid then means like search, a search. But a very thorough and possibly violent search. If your house is being raided, then the police are looking everywhere, tearing your closets apart and opening drawers. And so I interpret this as a police raid, police going into apartments and arresting terror suspects. Great question. Any others? All right, we've got a bit more. A bit more. Let me get back to that email. Okay, so what are people saying? Same story here. What are people saying? In the U.S., there's been a lot of talk about how to prevent terrorism at home. Last week, the House passed a bill that overhauls security screenings for Syrian and Iraqi refugees coming to the U.S. Meanwhile, GOP presidential candidate Ted Cruz suggested the U.S. only accept Christian refugees. And GOP presidential candidate Donald Trump didn't rule out having Muslims register in a U.S. database for being Muslims. The skim. The fallout from the Paris attacks isn't over yet, and the fight against ISIS is still on. So it would be seriously troubling if senior officials are reporting inaccurate information about the fight against it. Okay, questions on that? Those 2 paragraphs, or a summary of what are they saying here? Main idea.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead.
All right, Anna, and then Wilson. Or was that Wellington?
I bet you we have the same question.
All right.
I feel that you overhouse
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. A bill that overhauls. Wonderful. To overhaul something is to completely remake it or redo it. So if you overhaul your look, you get a makeover. Or if you overhaul um, your house, you redesign your house. So in this case, the bill overhauls security screenings. So the security screenings, the rules for that are going to be completely new or completely changed due to this bill. Good question. All right. Yeah, so passed a bill. They passed legislation, or they allowed legislation that changes the rules for Syrian and Iraqi refugees, basically making it much harder or impossible for them to come to the U.S.
GOP stands for what? It's
Great. This is very specific to American politics. This stands for Grand Old Party. Then I'll type that in the chat. The Grand
Republican. Yes.
Yeah, yep. It's another name for Republican. So if you see that, if you see GOP or Grand Old Party, you know it's Republican. Good question. Any other questions? All right.
One commentary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Can be? One comment.
Yeah.
And so they are in doubt. They don't know how to lead with the terror. Unfortunately, they are shooting to every place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
and this is bad. This is bad. For example, to create a US database uh, with the name, the register to register uh, all Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something uh, I think it's not the. This is not the answer.
Yeah, I have to agree. In fact, that's almost a little frightening, right? That kind of reminds me of World War II and
Yeah. This looks like that movie where I think is Terror in New York. I don't know, with Denzel Washington,
Mhm.
and after a attack in New York, they put many Muslims in a area in quarantine,
Mhm.
and so anything. It was a movie, but it was not the answer for the problem.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. I've never seen that movie, but I
I, I'm not sure about the title, but the film was in some way good. But after the movie, years after, happened occurred the 9/11, unfortunately.
Mhm, mhm.
The
Interesting.
9/11, the 9/11, yeah,
9/11 happened.
unfortunately.
Yes, and it's interesting that in the attack of the terrorists to the hotel in Mali, they did it the other way around. They asked the host, the how can I say, the people to try to talk something about the Alquran, the Bible of the Muslim. How do you call the book?
The
It's
Quran?
Al Quran. Yes, they ask if someone could tell something about the Al Quran would be released, otherwise would be arrested. So they are using the other way around. In this case, USA only accept Christian refugees. In that attack, they released only people that knew something about the Al Quran. How do you spell Al Quran?
Quran, um, I think it's Koran.
Quran.
Yeah.
Yes, because they release only the people that could say a sentence or a paragraph of the Quran.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, it's a religious fight. No matter. No way. It's a religious fight.
Hmm. Hmm. Definitely. Definitely. Great. Interesting comments, everyone. Very nice. Any other responses or comments on that topic? It is interesting to me. I don't agree with these things, so I'm interested to see how that plays out. All right, and I guess as far as language goes, you asked about all the kind of more interesting language parts in this. Just the only other thing I wanted to point out was the irregular sentence structure as we're reading. You may notice sentences like these where we're starting a sentence with and so kind of separating dependent clauses into separate sentences. Very different than our typical written English, but it's kind of mirroring spoken rhythms. All right, to the point where it's a little challenging for me to read, because I have to remember to read it conversationally.
Yes, but I think it's not a very difficult English. Okay, the words and the sentences are very clear. I don't think it's difficult for us to read.
Good, good, good. That's good. You all have pretty advanced English too. Sometimes there's strange things, but we'll see. Let's go on to the next one. This is our business story about Pfizer and Allergan. This section, the email has this section every day, and it's like 3 shorter stories. They kind of have their big story and then 3 shorter stories. So here's our first shorter story. Oh, and it's also kind of gives you directions of what to talk about with your coworkers. Or at least that's the idea. Here we go. What to say when you remember how much of your paycheck goes to taxes? Love to find a way around this. Pfizer and Allergan feel you. Today, the two are expected to announce that they're getting hitched in a merger valued at more than $150 billion. The marriage of the maker of Viagra, Pfizer, and Botox, Allergan, would create the world's biggest drug maker. It's also expected to be very good for their tax bills. Allergan is technically going to buy Pfizer, even though Pfizer is the larger of the two companies. That's because Allergan's headquarters is in tax-friendly Ireland, meaning the combined company could save itself from billions in U.S. taxes. Sneaky, sneaky. It also comes in a record year of M&A for healthcare. Thanks to things like Obamacare and a meh global economy, companies have been feeling like it's safer to shack up and weather the storm together. And now they'll be able to do both wrinkle-free. All right, so questions on that story or comments on that story, questions on the language on that one. This one I think has a few more confusing phrases or colloquialisms.
Sneaky.
Teacher.
1 second, Anna. Let's see. Sneaky, sneaky. Good. So this is something you would say when you catch a child trying to be sneaky or do something without others knowing. So if a child is trying to get a cookie without their mom seeing, their mom might catch them and say, sneaky, sneaky, no cookies until after dinner. So kind of wagging the finger almost like a parent at these companies for doing something questionable. Good. Other questions?
Yes. And now they will be able to do both wrinkle-free. It means that they won't have any concerns. They are not going to frown and they are going to be free of wrinkles because of that.
I
Yeah.
think it's a joke with Botox, yes?
Yes, and also the meaning that I brought up.
Yeah, it is. It is. You're both right. So it is a play on words referring back to the Botox. So wrinkle-free instead of problem-free because of the Botox.
Okay. And what is a meh?
Meh. Meh is something that's not very good. It's not terrible, but it's not good. Meh.
And shack up.
Say it again? Oh, shack up. Yes, to shack up. This is a phrasal verb meaning to live together. And this is usually something, it's something a romantic couple does before they're married. Or might do before they're married. If they live together before they're married, you can say they're shacking up.
Okay. When they say Obamacare, they are making fun of the healthcare in the United States, and they are blaming Obama.
This is a common name for the Affordable Health Care Act. This is kind of the everyday. A lot of people call it that, and it does kind of make fun of it, but it's pretty common to hear, even in the news.
Okay, MEA, MEA.
Ooh, I was hoping you wouldn't ask. I don't know that one. I think it. Let's see. It also comes in a record year of M&A. It's some business term that I don't understand. My guess is it would have to do with mergers and acquisitions?
Okay, merger and acquisition. Maybe.
Yeah, that's probably it.
It's interesting, but I couldn't find MEA in the dictionary.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. This is kind of just a sound. I bet it will become a word before much longer. But it's not really a word. If, for example, if someone asks me how I'm doing and I'm not feeling very good, I might say, meh. Or, how was your day? Meh. It was okay. Meh. So it's kind of like a sound we make rather than a word. Yeah, but when I read this, I read it as the sound. A meh economy. A meh. Not good, not bad. Meh.
Okay. Maybe it's an abbreviation for mediocre.
I think it's related to mediocre because of that M sound, but I think it really comes from that meh. It's a sound we make in conversation when we don't want to say good and we don't want to say bad. Or, yeah, that's how we use it for sure. Indifference.
What does HQ stands for? Sorry.
Headquarters. Headquarters.
Oh, thank you.
Great question. Yes, of course. Other questions? All right. So let's see. Let's go on. I think we've pretty well covered that story. All right, here's the story about that Washington Post reporter. I don't know much what's going on with this, but let's figure it out together. What people are talking about. Washington Post reporter Jason Rezaian. Yesterday, Iran sentenced Rezaian to a prison term, but didn't say how long the sentence would be. Does anyone know how to pronounce this name?
I think he's Rezaian, like our writing.
Okay, I think so too. So we'll just say Rezaian. Thank you, Ellington. All right. Rezaian has been in an Iranian prison for more than a year. Iran also hasn't exactly said what he was charged with, but it seems to have something to do with alleged spying for the U.S. Rezaian and the Washington Post have said not true at all. He was convicted earlier this year after a trial that was closed to the public. Iran hasn't given his lawyer any info on the guilty verdict or Rezaian's prison sentence. Helpful. This comes as the U.S.-Iran relationship has recently been upgraded from terrible to it's complicated. After agreeing on a nuclear deal earlier this year, both sides have maybe sorta kinda been considering a prisoner swap. That could mean American prisoners, like Rezaian, would be released in exchange for Iranian prisoners being held by the U.S. Fingers crossed. All right. Questions, comments on that little story? Or would anyone like to summarize it for us? It's always helpful.
I think the guy was arrested supposedly because he is a spy, but the real idea is to have someone to exchange prisoners with Iranian prisoner that USA may have. I think they did it on purpose. I think that maybe he's not a spy, but he will be someone that could be exchanged with someone.
Yeah.
One question. Kinda, it's colloquial too, né? Kinda.
Good. Yeah, this actually has to do with
Sorta, kinda.
pronunciation. This is the words kind of together. And sort, the same with the word before, sort of. So these are kind of modifiers that we use. I just used one without trying. And because of stress, the of does not get pronounced fully or really at all. So kind of sounds like kinda. And sort of sounds like sorta. So that's where these come from, but they have kind of evolved to become a phrase spelled like this in writing. Sorta, kinda, meaning it's not decided. Maybe sorta, kinda means they're going back and forth. They aren't deciding. Nobody's being firm. Does that make sense?
Yes. It's
Okay.
interesting the style of the writer because it's a very, very serious subject, and then he used very, very informal words sometimes just to maybe be more accessible to everyone. I don't know because
Yeah. Yeah, I think to me it has a very millennial feel to it. Like these young kids, these millennials, feels to me what they would write. It probably is. Good. Any other questions on this one or any comments at all?
No.
Along those same lines, here we have kind of a reference to Facebook.
One comment.
Mhm.
One commentary. For example, maybe, let's think that Rezium is not a regular report. Let's think that he is a double agent. Let's think that he worked for Iran and he is in this situation only to in the future United States uh, consider change swap the prisoners.
So
It's something
we
a lot to think.
yeah, be careful with the spy. We might have a double agent, um, and he may come. They might make a prisoner swap, and who knows?
To free um, uh, so Iranians.
Oh boy, that would make a really good movie.
Yeah.
Funny. All right, nice. That's fun. We have, I think, one more. Yep, just one more. These are quick. I thought they'd fit well. This is the story I know least about, but let's see what we can figure out here. What to say when you almost hit a biker getting out of the cab? Didn't see that coming. Neither did Senator David Vitter, Republican, Louisiana, when he lost the Louisiana governor's race this weekend to unknown state Representative John Bel Edwards, Democrat.
Delaware.
Oops, sorry. What was that?
I think it's Delaware, right?
No, that is Democrat.
Democrat
Okay.
Party from Los Angeles, huh? Is that
Louisiana.
Louisiana?
Okay.
Yep, this is the state abbreviation.
Okay.
So Louisiana. Good. Good. This was supposed to be an easy W for Vitter, since Louisiana is a very, very red state that hasn't elected a Dem to literally any state officers. But this election came after a rough primary, which brought up a lot of Vitter's dirty laundry. Think a 2007 prostitution scandal, hiring private investigators to spy on opponents. It also comes as the current GOP gov, Bobby Jindal, is getting ready to retire with a sagging approval rating and a now over presidential campaign under his belt. Now Vitter's consoling himself with 2 pints of gumbo and a rom-com. All right. Would anyone like to venture a summary of the main idea of this?
They were expecting an easy victory for Victor, and it was a twist when the other guy won the election because no one was expecting. I don't understand a lot of things there.
Good. Good. Great. Well, thank you for the summary. Exactly right. He was expected to win, but he didn't. All right. So what's question?
2 pints of gumbo and a rom-com.
Yeah, this is funny and pretty culturally specific. Let's start with rom-com. Rom-com is a romantic comedy. So that's kind of an abbreviation for that genre of film, romantic comedies, which typically are the movie that girls watch when they have a breakup, right? when a girl breaks up with her boyfriend and is sad, she watches romantic comedies, and she eats ice cream by the pint. But in this case, he's consoling himself not with ice cream, but with gumbo. Gumbo is an American, a Louisiana food. Let me get a picture of it for us. Unless someone gets it. I'm going to share the gumbo picture. This is a typical dish from Louisiana, made with rice, and it's like shrimp, and it's really spicy, very delicious. But stereotypical for Louisiana. So anytime someone's from Louisiana, we say they eat gumbo. So in this case, he is mourning his loss by eating gumbo and watching romantic comedies.
Sagging approval rating? Sagging.
Good. Sagging approval rating? Yeah, sagging is what happens to your skin over time. It wrinkles and sags. Or think of a baby's diaper might sag when it needs to be changed. That would have been a good word for Google Images too, but yeah. So a sagging approval rating would be an approval rating that's getting down, very low.
Very low, very little.
Yeah, getting to be little, like very few people approve.
Few people approve, yeah. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Weak.
Weak, yeah. Weakening, yeah, sagging is kind of like weakening. Yeah. Good. Other questions?
Yes, one more question. Why the title? What to say when you almost hit a biker getting out of the cab? What's the reason?
Yeah, so that's actually a question I would like to ask whoever writes this. But what I gather, this email is kind of to help people talk to other people at work about current events. And I think that's where they get the whole repeat after me and what to say. So the email is like coaching you what to say in certain situations, so that you always seem to know what's going on in current events and the world. But it seems like they just make it into a joke, because this plus the first line always makes kind of like a joke. Yeah, so that's kind of, I think that's their style or their approach. But it winds up reading a little bit like a joke.
And this service, this report is free, or you need to pay something to receive it?
It is free.
Yeah.
So you can all go, I'm not sure, I don't remember how I signed up, but if you, oh look, I could have read it in a browser. I wonder if that would have worked better. I'm sure if you Google Skim with 2 M's, you can subscribe. It is free. It's Monday through Friday, and kind of fun language for the news of the day. Good. Any other questions on that story? That was the last story. I guess this one's like a little one, but and then they have advertisements down here, and you can win things by sharing the email. But I just read it to get a quick burst of current events and hopefully laugh a little bit. It is a little bit sarcastic and funny. All right, everyone. So we're going to stop there. I have to get ready for a private lesson. But thank you all. This was the first time doing this lesson. Let me know if you liked it, if I should do it again. I don't know if it's useful or maybe something I could do once in a while, or if you have other ideas. I just like the language in there. But thank you for joining me. Good discussion, and I hope to see you all soon.
Thank you, Stephanie. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, everyone. See you soon.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you.